So you're thinking about growing a garden, but you've had medium to sub-medium success in the past. It's pretty easy. We can show you a few tips. Come on in.
Boo-doo-doo, boo-doo, ba-doo, ba-doo. I grow some with Geof. Boo.
Growing your own garden's great. Even growing just a tomato's great. But we hear from a lot of folks that they put all this energy into planting stuff, and then it just doesn't pan out for one reason or another. It's actually frightfully easy, and there's a few simple things you can do to make sure you have great success in your garden this season. We're going to go over a few things: soil, fertilizer, compost. We're going to go over some pesticides and fungicides you can use. And I wanted to let you know that if this is something that you plan to do for money, for a living, you should do your own research. You should make sure you're following the rules, and you should make sure that everything is on the up and up. I'm definitely going to be leaning towards a home gardener here, but these kinds of things are applicable everywhere. So, the first thing, no matter what, is that you got to know what you're starting with. Here, you got to start with soil. We're organic farmers. We believe in organic farming. We think organic farming is great. It's not the only way to farm. There are people who are conventional farmers who are great farmers. We're going to be talking about organic farming here. And either you have a garden, or you're going to be growing in like containers, something like this. If you're growing into containers, you're going to need some potting soil or something of that nature. We have some here on the Farm Petals Instagram page. We have a breakdown in our highlights how to make your own potting soil. You also can buy potting soil bagged right here. This is a compost really, but this brand makes for potting soil as well. Any box store, any garden store, they'll all have bagged compost for you. If you're using a bucket, get some potting soil, fill it up, you're ready to go. If you're growing in a garden at home, we highly recommend getting one of these. It's a little soil test kit. You can get it from your cooperative extension. Every county of across the country has a cooperative extension. You just go on the computer and type county, whatever county you live in, cooperative extension, and they can send you these boxes. You fill out the box in the form, you say what you're doing, how big of an area you're doing, send it off to them with like 10 to 15 bucks, something like that, and they'll send you back a list saying, this is what you need to do. It's great. It's perfect. It takes all the brain work out of it. But in the short term, if you're looking to plant right now, we can also kind of muscle our way through one of these. More likely than not, you don't have perfect soil. It's just, soil changes over time, it exhausts, it's deficient in one resource or another, and element or another. And so what you got to do is you fill out one of these, send it off, get it back, you know what to do, and you can add that. In the meantime, we're going to go back to the pot, and we're going to show you how to make a plant grow no matter where you grow it. If you grow it in sand, we're gonna make a plant grow for you this year. So first things first, you need to start with a seedling. These are kind of some undersized tomato seedlings, but it's all I have right now, and it'll work. You take in your garden or in your bucket, and you make a hole like that, right? Then what you need to do is you need to get some fertilizer. Organic fertilizer is the way to go here. We recommend organic fertilizers. They tend to be non-water soluble in most instances, meaning that the fertilizer you put in the ground, unless the plants use it, it'll stay there. Chemical fertilizers are often water soluble and they'll wash away over time. This builds your soil. It's safer for kids, safer for you, and it's a little bit like dummy proof. Get yourself some organic soil. You'll know it's organic if it has this OMRI label on it, or some of them will have this leaf, this 3-leaf. That's another symbol. It says for organic gardening. But you start with some fertilizer here. There are a number of different kinds of fertilizers. Generally, If it says organic, has the OMRI, and the numbers are in the ballpark of 5. If the numbers are in the ballpark of 5, you know it's right. Once you start getting in 10 and up, with some few exceptions, you get into the land of chemical fertilizers, and again, you don't really want to do that. So, you take some of your fertilizer here, and we're going to put it in our hole. So we have some organic fertilizer. For something like a tomato plant, you take a hole, put the fertilizer down the hole, you take your tomato seedling, you put it down in the old thing like that. Boom, donezo. The fertilizer in organic fertilizers, broad spectrum organic fertilizers like that, will give the plant enough food to be able to grow and be healthy over the course of a whole season, even if your soil is suboptimum. You use like a handful per full season plant, like a pepper, tomato, eggplant, broccoli, corn, cauliflower, anything like that. Something like lettuce, heads of lettuce, you might sprinkle some in the hole. You know, it never hurts to like spread some over an area if you're going to grow peas or carrots. Spread some over and rake it in a little bit. Compost, your soil, your compost, is like the sponge. Fertilizer, fertilizer's the food. You got to feed your food if you want it to grow and you want it to be successful. Compost is good. Or soil. Compost and soil, good. Fertilizer is good. They are not the same thing. Compost and soil is used like the sponge. It holds the nutrients. A well-balanced soil will make the nutrients readily available to the plant. Fertilizer is the nutrients. This is the stuff that gives all, it's the vitamins, it's the everything that makes the plants grow. You need them both. If your soil's not well balanced, it's harder for the plants to get the nutrients from the fertilizer out of it. If it is well balanced, it's easier. That's where the soil test comes into play. Well worth it. When you're growing something in a container, this kind of size container here is probably okay for like a tomato 1 plant. You could do some different lettuce and things of that nature, but usually 1 plant. If you want to grow a lot of tomatoes and you only have containers, get a lot of containers. If you got a garden, try to give your plants 2 to 3 feet per plant. Unless you're doing lettuce or carrots, those can go closer. But big plants, they need air. They need a place for their roots to grow. They need space. They need love. They need all the things. So you got your plant. It's planted. It's fertilized. It's growing great. You're loving it. Next thing to do is to tend it. You got to keep it weeded. You got to keep it watered. You also need to keep the bugs off and the disease off. Let me show you how. The bugs are easy. If you're growing a small garden, just pay attention. It's nice. You go out with a cup of coffee, take a look around. If you see some bugs, pick them off and squish them. The 2 things we use to keep bugs off are pyganic, which is a pyrethrin. It works wonderfully on hard-bodied insects, and Entrust, which is a spinosad, which works great on soft-bodied insects. Now, spinosad, this stuff Entrust is pretty expensive. This is for commercial gardening. We'll show you. There's a homeowner one version. There's a number of homeowner versions of it that you can use. You always look for organic gardening. Captain Jack's Monterey Garden Spray. They work good. This one you can buy in smaller quantities. You know, you don't have to buy a whole gallon of it or whatever. Buy it in smaller quantities. And this one you got to spray right on the pests. You actually have to see them, spray it on them, and it kind of dissolves their bodies and kills them. You gotta be careful. Watch out for the bees. Watch out for the praying mantis. All the other insects.
Thing about pesticides is they don't know who they're killing or why they're killing it. They're just doing what they do. It's on you to make sure you're using them correctly.
Start by picking. If you can, pick your insects off. Just flick them. Drown them. Have your kids do it. Use this as a last resort. But if you are going to use pesticides, something like a pyganic, which breaks down, or Captain Jack's here, which also breaks down. This one, you spray it on the plant, they eat the leaves with this on it, and they die. Works great. But again, it doesn't know who it's killing or why it's killing it. You got to be careful that you're using it correctly. Read the directions. Think about it. The second thing is keeping disease off. That's more than pests. Disease are what we see home gardeners just struggle with, right? You know, you get your plants are up and growing and stuff, and all of a sudden they're covered with like powdery mildew, or they've got some sort of, your tomatoes have some sort of blight. It happens. These things are airborne. They're brought in by insects. It's just the way of things. But you can do something about it. Green Cure is potassium bicarbonate for organic gardening. Nice little leaf, nice little omri on there. What you do is you mix this up, spray it on your plant, and it actually dries up the blight or the whatever happens to be like attacking your plant. Dries up that thing and gets rid of it. Actually kills it. Doesn't shield your plant, doesn't do anything like that. Actually kills it. It's great. We up here in the Northeast hit our tomatoes with Green Cure about July 1st every year. And you'll see we'll go through and we'll spray them, and then we'll go through it a day or two later. We'll see some areas have some dried up leaves all on them. They've dried up and died. Those are plants that were infected and we hadn't seen it yet. By the time you see disease on a plant, it's already been there for a week or two, or who knows how long. This will help deal with that. Keeping disease off your plants is one of the best things you can do to having a productive garden. So now you're ready. You got your container with your good potting soil, organic potting soil or compost, or you've amended your soil outside, or you haven't done either, but you've got your fertilizer and you've fed your food, you've watered them, you've given them sunshine, you've kept the bugs off, you've dealt with the disease, given them a lot of love. You should now have so much food you don't even know what to do with it. Growing a garden isn't hard. There are some tricks to it, but teach your friends. Use these methods, and I swear, I guarantee you'll have a great garden this summer and every summer to come. Thanks a lot. Geof Hancock, Hancock Family Farm, Farm Petals. Please, teach your friends. Grow a garden. Have a great season.
I grow some shit with Geof. Boo.